Hey, viewers and viewers, my name is General Red Strategist, and I'm joined by the Phil. How's it going, the Phil?
Hey, your vitality is extremely
It
low.
is indeed, isn't it, the Phil? Well, let me eat
The,
some food, the Phil. There we go.
I thought it's we haven't done a recording session in a while together for Say Being Hunted.
Ah,
Um, I, the last what was the last one we did? Well, I
what
can't
was
remember
it?
what
I
we.
can't remember. No, it's quite a few episodes ago, Phil. I'm
It
trying to
was.
recall.
Yeah, it was indeed, and it was funny that you did take on my Walker's Chris challenge.
Yes,
Um,
I amended
that
it
was
about
interesting.
slightly, but yeah, I had a good one with that. A little blast.
Yeah, I'll see if I can think of any other challenges in my head. One I
Yes.
was brewing up, but I don't know yet. I just have to sort of work it out. Was to do with the gravestones in the
Okay.
church. I haven't really
Yeah.
done much with that yet, but
No.
uh, because obviously they've got text on them, but I'm not quite sure what to do with it yet. So I'm still thinking on that one.
Yes,
Um,
indeed.
but Yeah, just before we have a, because I've got a sort of topic that'll be interesting to talk. But the big news, of course, is which you mentioned last time, is you finally got a console for the first
Yeah.
time. Never had a console before.
Indeed, my Nintendo Switch.
Yeah.
Looking forward to doing more with it.
'Cause you've only ever dealt with a PC, haven't you?
Yeah, yeah, because I'm very much a PC gamer first and foremost, and I'm trying to think. I definitely don't think there really were any consoles that I had in my youth. Certainly not like big ones like PlayStations or Xboxes, anything like that.
Hmm.
I
Yeah.
do seem to have.
You did. You
Yeah,
did always play on my PlayStation and
yeah.
Xbox
I'm gonna
before.
come and
So
visit Phil.
you've got used to how consoles work. So it's good to see, and you've got a few games as well.
Yeah,
You can have a play. You could even maybe get the Pokemon,
indeed.
um, the Scarlet or Violet.
Yeah.
So
Pokemon
that'll,
is a possibility. Yeah, I think I've already mentioned. I've now like Super Mario Maker 2. I've got Super Mario Bros.
that'll be fun.
Wonder, Legend of
Yeah.
Zelda Breath of the Wild. Those are the ones I've got at present. There's other ones that I'd like to save
Oh
up
yeah.
and get. Maybe like Tears of the Kingdom. Maybe Metroid Prime
Oh, that's a good
Remastered.
one. Yeah, Tears of the Kingdom's a good one.
Yeah.
You can even try obviously Animal Crossing.
Oh
That's a big one.
yeah, like New Horizons. That'd be a good one to try out at some time. Yeah, yeah,
There's loads of good Nintendo. You could even get Wolfenstein. I think there's Wolfenstein on there now,
yeah. I
which will
think
be funny. You
indeed.
think it's supposed to be a family-friendly console, but no, they now have Wolfenstein on it.
Yeah.
Uh,
You mean you don't like
but yeah,
to, blast away Nazis with little Timmy with a big flamethrower or a chain gun or
yeah,
whatever?
exactly. Yeah, it's so funny. But yeah, it's good because you've never actually played a Nintendo game before, have
No, I
you?
haven't. No, it'll
No,
be a
you've
first
never
for me. Really, really
experienced
good.
it. Um, so that, but hopefully you'll get some good enjoyment out of that.
Oh
But
yeah,
at least you went. Yeah, the Switch Two is the problem with the Switch Two, which has been memeified, is the fact that the games are stupidly expensive
yeah, they
for the Switch
are.
2. Like the first one of the first launch games was Mario Kart World Tour, I think it is, and it was
Yes.
like £8 for the
Oof,
game,
God,
and
that
it's
just yeah.
yeah,
Oof.
which is ridiculous. So at some point, I'm planning to get, as I've probably said before, I'm planning to get PS5,
Yeah.
but I'm just going to get the PS5 and not the PS5 Pro. It's
No.
ridiculous. The PS5 Pro is like 800 quid,
Oof.
and there's not that much difference in graphics.
No, there
It's
isn't.
supposed to be, so I'll just stick with the
Yeah.
PS5.
I mean, so that's the
Um,
same reason, really, why I just went with the Switch rather than the Switch 2, just because, like, A, the Switch 2 is much more expensive, and on top of that, I just thought not only are the games for it more expensive, but also a lot of the games I want to play, I can just get on the original Switch. So it's like, why would I get the Switch 2 then? Much greater value for
exactly.
money.
I think that's what we've got to think about, isn't it? Yeah,
Yeah,
with the Switch.
indeed.
Um, Game topic. That's the
Okay.
topic I have. It is to do with games. Oh, games. What
But
are games?
we
Who
love
knows?
talking about games, Phil. We love talking about them. Yeah.
But the thing is, I thought of an interesting thing. If we're going to have to think about different genres of video games that you played and I played, and we're going to think what sort of the peak pinnacle stuff that defines that game and what really makes a good game. Now, in the past, you've talked about. I remember Saving Hunted was where what makes a good platformer game. You
Yeah.
remember things like that. So, as a start, if we think about, and we can base it off the games that we play. So, if we start with survival
Okay.
type games, so we
Yeah.
can think of obviously Raps, Subnautica, Minecraft, No Man's Sky, um, So you're being hunted. All these ones you've played, and some I played as well because I've done some survival games in the
Hmm.
past. And the things that really make a survival game. Because
Yeah.
one of the first things I want to bring up is having a decent crafting system.
Yes.
That's what you need. Is a crafting. Funnily enough, okay, Sir doesn't have a crafting system
Mm.
really.
No, it doesn't.
Um, so it's not. But the majority of survival games do have a crafting system, and the way it is, you need it to be very intuitive, don't
Yes.
you?
That's
Because
probably
if you've got a big
yeah.
crafting system work, it's just gonna fall apart.
Yeah, because that's
Um,
like one of the things that sometimes it just I don't know. I find a bit sort of like tedious in certain survival games, like The Long Dark and Stranded Deep, in terms of sometimes the plethora of menus you have to go through can be a bit sort of
yeah,
not great. Whereas I much preferred games like Subnautica and Raft because it's just a bit easier to navigate and that kind of thing. Don't Starve also had
yeah.
a decent crafting system as well. Mm.
You have to think about these with crafting systems because they can be the convoluted ones. I remember I watched one of our very very old Stranded Deep when what is so extremely old. It's when you used to live up north and I'd sit in
Oh
the same
God,
room, and we had to actually get the wiki for
yeah,
Stranded Deep
mm,
to work out what makes what and
indeed.
things like that. Even I must admit, No Man's Sky does have sometimes a bit of a complex crafting system
Yeah,
with
that
some of
one's a
its
bit
stuff.
complicated sometimes.
Yeah, and
But
then you've got ones
I,
like Minecraft. Minecraft has got a good crafting system.
yeah,
I do like Minecraft.
it's
Yeah,
simple that one. And the thing is, like in latest versions of Minecraft, apparently there's now like a recipe book. So as you get
brilliant.
materials, it can actually tell you what sort of stuff you can craft. And that I think is kind of good because that is a lot like games like Subnautica and Raft, which also have systems in there for telling you here's the item you've got, here's what you can potentially do with it. So here's some of the stuff that you would need in order to do that. So it just smoothens things out a bit. Um, yeah,
Yeah, exactly. Uh, that's a major key. I think another major key thing is to have enemies that are
yeah,
actually, decent. Because you want obviously it's not a survival game, is it, without enemies
no.
really? Because you need something to give you a bit of challenge.
A threat basically is
Um,
what you need. Something that can genuinely really mess you up if you screw up. Not just some piddling enemy that only does a little bit of damage and which you can easily run
yeah,
away from.
yeah, and you don't want ones that are too difficult either.
No.
That just cause you, constant issues. Like ones that you always need to be on the lookout for. One that I would say is very good at doing things like that is the forest,
Yeah.
because the cannibals in the forest. Well, it gives you that extra sort of edge. You're always on edge because if the cannibals find you, they can do a thing obviously where they can just disappear, and you think,
Mm,
oh, thank God they're gone, I'm safe. No, they're bringing more people back.
yes. I think that
Um,
the cannibals obviously is like the base cannibals are they're not like too tough, but they are challenging and not, just straightforward, easy to deal with. And then, of
yeah,
course, eventually you get to a point where they start bringing the mutants out, which are real tough.
yeah,
Indeed.
that's a good thing. That's a good thing about it. Again, with Sir, they progress up in stages as you get more and more pieces.
Yeah.
And you get the harder enemies coming out. So you start off with just facing hunters, and then you might. The problem is with this, you could get a bit cocky and be like, oh yeah, that's another hunter down, yeah, and then oh shit,
Yeah.
they could be bigger enemies.
Indeed. Yes.
Um,
Indeed. Indeed. I mean, I've actually talked a bit about like survival games and what, in my opinion, my subjective tastes in them before as well. And I think something else I would also say about survival games is that when you play them, like it feels sometimes like the gameplay of them is very much split into two phases. There's kind of like the scarcity phase at the beginning where you're learning how it works, and obviously like
yeah,
resources are scarce, and so the main
yeah,
challenge is just keeping your vitals topped up. But then I feel like in a lot of survival games, eventually, once you've been playing it a few hours, you get to a point where you're in the post-scarcity phase, where eventually you start to get a more reliable food supply, that kind of thing, and as a result, that kind of tension from just the mere challenge of keeping your vitals stable, that becomes less of a thing, and so then the game needs something else to kind of keep your attention. And I find that the survival games that I really enjoy are the ones that definitely have more to their gameplay in terms of things like creativity and massive exploration to find a story and interesting stuff to find. So like Subnautica, Raft, for example, have a lot of like creative mechanics for base building, that kind of thing. And as well as obviously they have this really well developed in-game world with things for you to find and unlock the story. So that's what survival games need. I mean, The Forest does it too, because obviously, like, eventually you get to a point in that where you get to a post-scarcity phase where, you know, you have farming, and you basically just have so much food, and you just think, okay, I'm not going to starve to death or anything like that. So that's obviously when the mutants start to really come out. That's when you can go exploring to find through the caves and find, eventually, obviously, the sinkhole and the story, that kind of thing. And obviously base building.
Yeah, there's lots of those things. Obviously, there's that on No Man's Sky. You can do base building and things.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is very interesting. Which reminds me, we need to get back to doing some more No Man's Sky.
We do. Yes.
Because that's always enjoyable. But what you don't want is like where it gets difficult because you're constantly having to monitor vitals, which I think is one of the things like the Long Dark. Can have it. Because there's lots of things you can't. It's not just like food and water. You have to monitor your temperature. You have to make sure that your core doesn't get too low.
Yeah, it's not necessarily kind of like a multiplicity of vitals you have to watch out for. It's sometimes when I think the problem partly I had with the Long Dark is that your calorie drain feels like it's so fast in that game, and it goes down ridiculously fast over the course of a day, and it just feels like it's a bit too artificially difficult, to put it that way. I mean, that's just one of many criticisms I had of it, but yeah, it was a bit like that.
I think Green Hell is supposed to be similar, isn't it, in that sort of way? That I've heard.
One of the reasons why I've just undecided about whether I'd ever play it.
Yeah, it might be too hard.
Potentially. You never know. Who knows? Indeed.
Let's. I know there's other things, but let's try a different genre of game.
Yeah.
And let's think about. Look, why don't we do first-person shooters?
First-person shooters? Okay, yeah.
Because one of the things I would say first-person shooters to make it is to have a good selection of weapons.
Good selection of weapons?
Is the main thing, I think. Because if you're just having I think you need more than just the generic like pistol, shotgun, things like that. If you can have like different kinds of like with Wolfenstein, especially the 2009, the weapons there were really good, especially when you had like the Leichenfaust and all those different types of weapons. Even in the latest Wolfenstein, actually, there were some good weapons, and you can, especially when you got the laser Kraftwerk.
Oh yeah.
Aye. Well,
I would sort of. I would sort of add on to your point there. Obviously, with weapon selections in FPS games, you also want each weapon to very much have its own kind of gimmick or effect, because obviously you don't want all your weapons to basically just be 10 different variants of the SMG. You want different weapons that are good for different situations. So like a shotgun should be in a video game, in the video game logic, a shotgun should be good for like close quarters, just blasting groups of people or enemies. SMG should give you kind of like the short burst, medium range, rapid fire. Obviously you probably want like a sniper rifle or something for long range, maybe like a grenade or rocket launcher for just sheer damage, that kind of thing. So you want your weapons to have not just variety in terms of what weapons there are, but also in how they function, I guess is what I'm getting at there.
As well, to have a different sort of like throwing weapons as well, things like
grenades
and various different like even like landmines. If you throw a landmine, that's always an interesting thing to do in FPSs.
Indeed, it's an option.
I think to have a good, definitely have enemies that scale up as you get higher and higher levels.
Indeed.
As well. I don't just like to get through to middle of a level and find out, it's piss easy enemies coming at me.
Aye. I'm trying to think like with other gimmicks that FPS games sometimes do, which are good ones. They're really, something you want to do.
Knocking people with the butt of your gun when you're very close.
Oh yeah,
I like one. you can just knock them in the face when you're extremely close. And then just keep firing.
That's why I like the test the good in Wolfenstein 2009 because it's not just that; it's also smack them with the end of it, so it electrifies them.
Yeah, oh,
Yeah,
it does, doesn't it? Yeah,
yeah, it does.
as well. I've noticed that with a lot of FPSs, I mean, I don't think it always needs to be this way. It always seems to be the majority of FPS seem to have a big hulking brute of a guy
Yeah,
who's just going. You don't always need that. Like you can see BJ Blazkowicz. He's got like, he looks like he's an extreme bodybuilder,
yeah.
or the main guy, Doom guy as well,
Aye,
who's Halo.
indeed.
Um,
Master Chief.
Master Chief. I'm just trying to think. Are there? Because there's not that many FPS games where you have a female as the main character.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of any. I know, obviously, in more recent years there may have been some because I have one in my Steam library, which is like a sort of. It came out in recent years, but it's like a retro-style boomer shooter called I think it's Fida Puti Samurai, which has like a zany story. But yeah, I want to play that at some point on the channel.
I think Perfect Dark
Perfect
has
Dark, actually, yeah.
yeah. She's a character. I think that's an FPS. Yeah.
Yeah,
But yeah, it needs to be more of those sort of characters, I would say.
yeah.
But
Lots of
it is
characters.
good to go around and have a just shoot
Yeah,
or something as well, and have good levels as well. But you definitely need good levels in a first person shooter, otherwise it's
yes.
just going to be a bit naff.
Yeah, you want to sort of like, I think, avoid maybe sort of repetitive levels as well. You want to like think about how you make each level sort of slightly different to the last one. So you think about how you might add, say, like verticality to a level, for instance, just to add another dimension to the
Yep,
action, or create levels that are very much kind of get you to test your skills with certain weapons, for instance, that kind of
absolutely.
thing. Yeah.
Yeah, so those are some good ones. Um, right, horror.
Horror.
We
Okay.
have a look at the genre, the horror. What do you want to start with horror? What do you
Sound
think?
design. Sound design is massively
Yeah,
important in horror because obviously, in many horror games, the environment's going to be very dark. So graphics actually aren't necessarily the key thing. What you want really is
yeah,
sound design because that more than anything helps you generate good atmosphere. Um, so yeah, you definitely want that. And also, sometimes in horror you don't need necessarily loud in your face jump scares. Sometimes
no.
what you want
Oh,
is,
that's nice. Oh, that's nice
tension.
there, isn't it? As the balloon goes over the moon.
Yeah.
That's pretty.
It's like ET, except it's a balloon with robots.
Yeah, no, I see what you mean. Yeah, sound design is important because if you get those little, but you don't. Yeah, you don't want things like too many jump scares because
No.
you'll just get used to it and then it won't
Yeah,
really phase you, will it?
indeed.
Uh,
Like in a lot of horror, some of the good ones rely a lot on that sort of what is it? What's the word term I'm looking for? That sort of principle of actually not sort of showing you too much of the monster and things like that, so
yeah,
it keeps your imagination going. That also can be quite sort of useful, and I think it can also be interesting when you've also got to like think about your storyline and how you're telling it. Do you just like kind of dump it all on the player, or do you sort of drip feed it bit by bit? Do you actually tell the whole story, or just leave a bit
yeah.
of room for ambiguity? That kind of thing.
That's one of the things. Even though it was a bit slow paced, I must admit, Alien Isolation
Yeah.
uh, did that pretty well because obviously it was a while before you actually dealt with the alien, so it built
Yeah.
up the suspense. And obviously you had first where it was it what was his name, Axel,
Axel.
I think
Yeah,
it was.
that's right.
Yeah, where he got skewered.
Indeed.
And
Ripped
then you
apart.
finally meet it later on. Yeah. So that I feel is a good sort of thing there. But I would
Yeah.
also say what was a really good one that I always found was the sort of a psychological horror aspect, like Layers of Fear. Oh, Layers
Yes.
of Fear did really well with the when you were just like especially like when the fruit came out of the painting, or
Yeah.
you just turned one of the chairs stacked up. That was really good. Was Layers of Fear.
It was. I still need to play Laser Fear 2.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you do because I've heard it's just as good.
Yeah. Something else I'd also add, and actually this doesn't really just apply to horror, technically it really applies across all genres, is to think carefully about sort of your level design and ultimately, does that kind of blend with the kind of story that you're trying to tell? Because the example actually I refer back to there is a game like FNAF Security Breach, where there are a lot of like criticisms and questions about whether it needed to be an open world level design or whether it should have actually been something far more linear. Because it depends again on the story you're telling and what you're trying to achieve. Like a lot of people, I think, sort of think, oh, open world would be amazing, right? But having said that, open world doesn't necessarily go with everything, and there are instances where actually a linear experience maybe does work better. So FNAF Security Breach should have been linear, really. But yes.
It was sort of different style, wasn't it? The original Five Nights at Freddy's.
Yeah, very different.
Now I've heard things about. I know that you do want to play like Silent Hills, obviously, a very good sort of horror type game.
Which one? Sorry.
Silent Hill.
Oh, Silent Hill. Yeah.
That one's obviously a very good one. So it's got very good reviews, but you'll have to see what it's like. See if it has those elements that you like.
Yes, indeed.
It's got to have. That's the thing about horror. It's got to have those elements, hasn't it?
Yeah, it's to really have those.
To give you that feeling of suspense.
Indeed.
Like SCP Containment Breach. That's another good one there.
Because it's like obviously with horror games, you got to have like that little process of like build up of tension before sort of the release and that kind of thing.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, I agree with that. Principles of design and all that.
Horror, right? Well, why don't we try the open world?
Open world, yeah.
Well, the word, John.
Do you really count open world as a genre? Or is that more of like a what's the term? A sort of a type of design rather than a genre necessarily?
No, it is a genre of video game.
Okay, yeah. It's just that like there's so many genres that use open world that it's like open world can be all sorts of things, but I guess it's kind of like an umbrella genre then.
Yeah, well, I think a key thing is it's not always they say bigger is better.
Yeah, not always.
Not in all cases. I mean, it's good. What you want is a good open world, but you don't want it to be filled with nothing.
Yeah, you need to have stuff to do. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a game. I think it's called Fuel, which was like an open world racing game, and it was absolutely enormous, but it was filled with fuck all.
Yeah.
It was nothing. You could basically drive just across from one place to the other,
Indeed.
and you just do nothing. There's just nothing to do, nothing to get part of. Whereas you've got things like GTA and Fallout. Oh, there's always Skyrim. Yeah. There's always something to do. There's always something. Like in Skyrim, you're not just walking down the road and there's nothing happening. You might get a random event happening, or the funny thing about Skyrim is you're determined to I'm going to do this mission. There's a cave there. That mission can just hold on a second. Yeah.
Right. Basically, yeah. You look at how games like Skyrim do it. There's stuff for you to do. And I think really like open world works best with things like RPGs, where obviously you don't have to necessarily do the story. You can sort of like just dabble in and make your own story in essence by just exploring. But yeah, you've got to have stuff to do. And on top of that, like as Phil says, I think bigger is not always better. It's one of the reasons actually why Beyond Good and Evil is one of my favourite games, because it has an open world, but the actual open world is not like overly too massive.
It's not big. Yeah, it's not too big.
Contrast that obviously with some of the Assassin's Creed games, where sometimes the maps were like just getting bigger and bigger and bigger, but it was a lot of just like the same copy paste things to do over and over.
Yeah,
and that's one of the criticisms that I think got levied at them, like Unity and Syndicate, for instance.
The Origins and Odyssey are very, very big.
Yeah,
but the thing about them is, it obviously, unlike the old, it's gone, like you said, it's gone RPG style.
Yes.
The thing about Origins and Odyssey, it's gone RPG. You go to locations, you level up, you do normal RPG, you get better gear and things like that. So it has gone the RPG route.
Aye.
So that's what makes it work really well. But yes, the map is massive. Well, you see, Odyssey is the entirety of Greece and all the subsequent islands as well. And I've heard that Valhalla's even bigger, because Valhalla is you're not just in one place like you are with most of the games, because you go to England and you go to Norway, because of course it's the Vikings.
Yes.
So it's big things, but yeah, those work really well, and they've definitely improved on what they're doing.
Yeah.
But then you got like GTA 5. GTA 5 is a big open world, but the thing about GTA 5, you can just it's just fun to go around, shoot people, or just drive around in your car and run
Yeah.
people over. And even there's little side activities as well that you can do.
Yeah. So yeah, I think the key points there are very much, bigger is not always better. Make sure that there's actually stuff to do in that open world. It's not just a big empty space. And when it comes to the things to do, don't just like copy paste the same things all around the map because that can get tedious. Try and have some
Oh god,
variety. Mm,
oh god, yeah, please don't like that. Yeah,
yeah.
actually, we can have a look at the other another genre, the RPGs.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, the main thing of RPGs is getting lots of loot and leveling up.
Yes.
That's the key thing. So you need to have a good loot system and a good leveling up
Oh
system.
yeah.
Know that Skyrim, the enemies level scale
They do.
with you. They do it in Fallout as well. They level scale with you, so you're not like level 34 and suddenly a level 16 monsters
Yeah.
coming at you. You're just like there. Swipe it. No, the enemies get more and more to. I've noticed, like in Skyrim, you may have seen as well. When you get higher and higher level, you get more of the advanced enemies. So, like for example, if we use Skyrim example, the Draugr.
Yeah.
Obviously, when you start, you just get the little basic Draugr units. But as you get more, you get like the Draugr Death Lord
Oh
and
yes.
the big Draugr Warlords as you level up, which are God. I always remember them. They could be ridiculously difficult to defeat.
Yeah.
But they could. I think the highest end is the Draugr Death Lord, and they can also use shouts at
Oh
you as well. Yeah.
yes.
So think about that when it levels. So that's the main thing about RPGs is you've got to have a good looting system and level scaling system.
Aye.
So things progress.
Indeed. Yeah, I've not played too many RPGs in my time, so that's a genre that maybe I can't really speak to as much as
You
you
can do it,
can.
Dave, 'cause you played a lot of Skyrim. You played a bit of
Yeah,
Fallout.
I played a bit of Fallout and a lot of Skyrim, but other than that, like I don't know if there's really any sort of other RPGs that I've really sort of delved into all that much. Not that I can
When
think
you
of.
were when you played Skyrim, what sort of class did you? Were you a spell sword? Did you have a sword and magic, or were
So
you
I've
a
had sword and
mage?
magic, yeah. So I was like, I had a sword, but most of the time I'd also be going in with elemental spells to try and do damage in that regard.
Oh, something that reminds me. Yes, for RPGs, having a decent skill tree
Yes.
so you can level up in what you want,
Yeah.
and you can do your things. Yeah, you might abandon other skill trees for what you want because I mean, if you like you might never touch like the archery
Hmm.
skill tree, or the person who only does the one-handed weapons will never touch the two-handed
Yeah.
ones. Just things like that because you can get level up and get some really good skills. And I think that the top ones eventually can be like paralyze
Yeah.
opponents and things like that.
I'd also say, like, with skill trees, whatever skills you put on it, it's good, when you think about how they synergize together as well, and offering players plenty of options for different synergies so they can go in different directions
Yeah,
with the skill tree if they want to. Um,
yeah,
yeah. So rather
yeah.
than
That's
just,
definitely something
skill tree
about.
being a bunch of stuff that seemingly is kind of unconnected and unrelated to one another, you want some skill tree parts that have skills which, as you progress up them, they sort of build upon the other skills around them or interact with them in certain ways.
Oh, hang on a minute. We've been talking about the wrong RPG. Sorry, we're supposed to be talking about rocket propelled grenades. Oh God,
Oh, that one.
how did we make that mistake?
Well, that needs a
So
good
what I
sight.
what I think about rocket, yes, we need needs to make sure that the grenades come out of it very well. You need to make sure it's a nice big weapon. Yeah. Here's one for you that I can't really answer because I haven't played a lot.
Yeah.
But RTS, what would you say?
RTS. Yeah.
RTS.
Um, God, it's actually been a few years. When did I last play an RTS? I would say, sort of a real-time strategy. You probably again want sort of fairly straightforward things like UIs that just make it clear. Here's like the tab where you can build units. Here's the one where you can build structures. That kind of thing. So just a friendly user interface because obviously the thing about RPG, and they said RPG again, RTSs is that depending on sort of how much kind of tactical and strategic depth is to them. There might be like lots of different units that all have very specific functions, things they do.
Yeah.
So you want, the UIs and the ways of getting those units and things to be fairly straightforward and intuitive. which is why I like, for example, Command and Conquer games because that's fairly straightforward and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, you want there obviously to be obviously plenty of like tactical and strategic variety in the kind of units that you can create. So you don't just want a bunch of units which mechanically are all very similar to one another. You want plenty of units that have like ranged, or depending on the time setting of the RTS, maybe like plenty of different types of melee units with different strengths and abilities, siege units, all kinds of stuff really that you want.
That they are. I think I've only seen a couple. Obviously, Populous is one.
Yeah.
The one. And have you ever tried a Civ game?
I haven't, no. I mean, they're obviously turn-based strategy games rather than RTS, but yeah.
Oh yeah, they are more turn-based, aren't they?
Yeah.
Yeah. I haven't really delved into the turn-based one.
I haven't either. Don't really know too much about turn-based games, particularly strategy ones, but indeed.
Yeah, that's interesting. I can't really say much about it. Well, actually, some turn-based strategy game that we can think of is Worms.
Worms, yeah.
Worms which oh god, yeah. When I come over again, we definitely have to do a Worms.
Yes, Worms WMD.
Worms is fun, but I think with a turn-based strategy game like Worms, you have to have fun weapons. I think what really makes Worms is it's fun weapons.
It's fun weapons,
that really
yeah.
That really makes it add to.
Yeah, with like lots of variety in how they work. Because that kind of thing, obviously you have your straightforward bazooka that is affected by the wind, but then you have like homing missiles, grenades, and tons of other zany stuff with its own mechanics.
Yeah, that's fun. That is what is fun about Worms. Yeah. I do love it. It's a very good little thing they've made. I can't remember if Team 17 have done any other games. They probably have.
Oh, they will have done, yeah.
I can't remember who it was. I can't remember what they've done, but yeah, that's a good little thing. Haven't done many turn-based strategy. That's probably the only one I've played.
Yeah.
Is Worm. MMORPG. I played RuneScape and a little bit of World of Warcraft, but not much. But I used to play RuneScape back in the day.
Yeah.
And that was fun. It's just there were some annoying parts where you could basically, if you went the wrong place, you could get attacked by something, and then you lose everything. But it's a learning curve, really.
Yeah, I've never really played a MMORPG before. Can't really speak to it.
No, have you never actually delved into any at all?
No, I've never played games like World of Warcraft or RuneScape or Diablo or anything like that. So don't really know too much mechanically, in terms of what makes a good one or not.
That's a good one. I won't do platformers because we've got a whole story on what makes a good platformer.
Indeed.
So that will be good to have a look there and see what really. I think, but I do think the key thing about what makes a good platform is to have platforms in it.
The most obvious thing.
Platforms. What happens if you? There we go. Platform game with no platforms. There you go. Let's see how that works.
There's no actual platforming, no jumping, none of that. So it's basically just walking around, isn't it?
Yeah, you've got the start, and then you've got the finish, and you just walk 2 steps. Yay! There's probably actually like a trolley Mario Maker level that's like that. Actually, where it's like start and finish bit. Yeah, you'll have to give it a whirl and see how it so you can find a level like that.
Yeah. Indeed.
That would be funny. I've done it! Yay! Happy Wheel. Oh god, I remember Happy Wheel.
Oh god, everyone was playing that back in 2013, whenever it was.
It's one of those games. Yeah, it's one of those games that it just gets picked up. Like what is it? Getting Over It with Bennett Foddy.
That one, yeah. I Am Bread.
I Am Bread. That's another big one. Big platforming ones like that. I think that's a good sort of chunk of video game genres that we've gone through there. That we've gone over and discussed sort of like the perfect things that make it what it is.
Indeed, yes.
And if anyone in the comments has got some other ideas as well, they can certainly say what they
Aye.
think would be added, and what genres they play. Because like other ones that be interesting, like racing games. People who, because I haven't played many racing games, but people who have, what would you say makes a good racing game? What do you really need in that racing game? MOBAs, like League of Legends, Dota.
Yeah.
What is it? It really puts it to the top. Yeah, there are probably loads of people who've played these game genres that we haven't. Or like maybe even some things like silly little comical games, like things like Superliminal or
Yeah. Well, they're about like puzzle games, aren't they? Superliminal stuff like that, and Portal.
yeah,
So yeah, I
yeah.
mean, yeah,
Portal. Yeah. Oh God, yeah. Puzzle games.
yeah. Well,
That's a big thing.
I
Yeah.
suppose with puzzle games, obviously, like the key thing there is, when you're designing it, you need to think of like just a base gimmick that you can then build everything else around. So obviously, like with Portal, it's using portals. With Superliminal, it's all about perspective, that kind of
Oh, it's
thing.
brilliant. You've got to give so much credit to the developers' minds. I mean, some of those puzzles in Portal are
Yeah.
insane.
Aye.
Some of them are really, really good. And then they've done it again with like the multiplayer where you've got 4 portals because the puzzles are even
Yeah.
harder.
Aye.
But yeah, Portal was utterly fantastic, and I don't think I could sit there and think how are we going to make this work.
Indeed.
The level designers must have been sat there for absolutely ages trying to work out how to do it.
And then you have the people who made the Portal Reloaded mod, who added a time travel portal as a thing as well. Ugh.
That one sounds very intriguing.
Yeah. Well, there we go. Thanks for joining me then, Phil.
I think we've had a good discussion.
We have indeed, yes. Well, in that case, ladies and gentlemen, let us know your thoughts down in the comments and all that. In the meantime, our social media links, my social media links rather, are down below for anyone interested. If you enjoyed, a like's always appreciated. Other than that, this is goodbye from Phil.
See you later, my chaps.
And it's goodbye from myself as well. Goodbye, everybody. Go that way. So we're going to head north. Oh, God. Take these guys out. Take them down. Concentrate fire. Move, bitch. Dave. Right. So now keep going this way. Yes. Side objective is destroy the air pads. Right, destroy that from attack, please. Causes trouble for us. Here. Wow. Over there. There's a couple of fucking units hanging back around here. Let's move up. Oh fuck. Take out from here. Really? Stuff over here. Quickly. Take that thing down. Causes trouble. Right, take out that turret.